Okay, hi everyone. My name is Alex. I'm here with Ashika and Lakshana to tell you about Intuit's new custom field API and a little bit about the partner program in general. So, yeah, the app partner program is launching on November the 3rd in the UK, Australia, and most of Canada. And Ashika will give you a live demo in a little bit so you can see how it works. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, so a bit about them in general. So custom fields, they're useful. So let's say if you want to introduce some business-specific data, for example, a loyalty program that associates some loyalty ID with every customer, normally you would have to add this information in the notes section. But that can likely lead to inconsistencies or missing data. Instead, you can use custom fields. So you would create a new custom field for customers and specify the data type. So that these could be things like string or integer. And doing so enables useful business reporting and filtering. Next slide, please. So how does the API work exactly? You can use it to define a new custom field with associated metadata like name, type, and entity. And you can also update specific custom fields and retrieve definitions and values for transactions. So the important thing to remember is that is like which entities are supported, which are sales receipts, invoice, estimate, credit memo, and refund receipt. For online advanced and enterprise suite customers, you can also create them for purchase orders, purchases, bills, credit card payments, and vendor credits. And also remember that the types of data you can use for a custom field are string, integer, date, and list. And when you're creating them, the most important fields are entity, data type, and label. Yeah, but now I'll pass over to Ashika, who will give a more detailed example.
Thanks, Alex. Hi all, thank you for joining the Office Hours for Custom Fields. So before diving into the quick demo, I would like to give you a quick walkthrough on what are the prerequisite steps, such as the scopes and the headers, the endpoints that are required to make a successful GraphQL call. So starting with the authorization, first and foremost, you would need your app to be authenticated and authorized with QuickBooks so that you can access the QuickBooks data. So once you're done with the authorization flow, you would be provided with an access token, which would be valid for a period of 60 minutes. So once the validity expires, you could use a refresh token to renew the access token. Moving on to the scopes. In order to access the custom field data from QuickBooks, you would need the below two scopes, which is the App Foundation's custom field definitions. With this scope, you would be able to both read and write custom field definitions data from QuickBooks. And in case you just need to read them, then you can use App Foundation's custom field definitions.read. And for the accounting REST APIs, you would be using the com.intuit.quickbooks.accounting scope. So for any other information regarding the authorization flow or the OAuth 2.0, I would suggest you refer to the documentation that is provided on our developer portal, which is developer.intuit.com. So moving on to the endpoints and headers. So for the GraphQL endpoint, we have the production endpoint, which is qb.api.intuit.com/GraphQL. Currently, we are not supporting custom fields on Sandbox, so it would just be the production endpoint that is being used for the GraphQL calls. And for your REST-based APIs, you would be using the usual QuickBooks base URL, which is quickbooks.api.intuit.com/v3/company, followed by your realm ID. And also you would need to add the entity that you want your custom fields to be added to. followed by the minor version, which is equal to 75. So 75 is the latest version that we have. And you have to ensure that you're including this option called include equal to enhanced all custom fields. Only then you would be able to include all your custom fields in the entity. So ensure that you are appending this in your accounting REST API endpoint for the entity that you want to create. Moving on to the required headers, you would need to specify the content type as application JSON. And for the authorization header, you would be appending the access token that you received post the authorization flow with the bearer keyword. I would like to give you a high level overview of the custom fields data model. So typically the core fields in the custom field data include the ID, the legacy ID v2, label, which is nothing but the custom field name, the type, which is nothing but the data type of the custom fields, and the associated entities, which are nothing but the entities that you want your custom fields to be added to, which could be like either transactions, customers, vendors, or projects. And that depends upon the type of QuickBooks product that you own. And also by adding custom fields to your entities, you would be able to track your data efficiently, and also you could generate reports as per your business requirements. So if you would like to refer to the other fields and attributes that are present within the custom field, you can always refer to the GraphQL Explorer to get more idea on the authoritative schema and the field names. So currently for custom field GraphQL endpoint, we are supporting the create, read, update, and disable operations. So this is just a sample that I've given here. This is a mutation that we would be passing to create a custom field. So you would basically make a post call to the production endpoint, which is qb.api.intio.com/GraphQL, and you would pass in the necessary headers, that is the authorization header and the content type. So the mutation, as it says, App Foundations create custom field definition. This is the mutation, GraphQL mutation, that is used to create your custom field. And you have to ensure that you pass in the required parameters, which is nothing but the label, the associations. Here, associations, as I already mentioned, they include, it could be a transaction, a customer, a vendor, or a project. And the sub associations are nothing but the QuickBooks entities in specific, meaning if your associated entity is a transaction, then your sub association entity could be invoice, sales receipt, or an estimate, and so on. And along with that, you would need to specify the data type of your custom field. So moving on to read operations. So for reading your custom fields, we have a GraphQL query where this query would retrieve all the custom fields that are created in your company, and it would give you all the details, such as the ID, legacy ID, v2, the label, the associations and the sub-associations, the data type, the active status of the custom field. So with this, you'll be able to fetch all your custom fields from your company. So the other operation that is available is update. So this as well as a mutation, which is nothing but App Foundations update custom field definition. And here we have the fields that are being passed. So for a mutation, when you want to update a custom field, the required attributes would be the ID and the legacy ID v2. Along with that, I would suggest you pass the attribute that you would want to update. So in case I'm updating the label, I would pass the updated value to the label and share and send that as an input. Suppose you want to disable a custom field using the APIs, then you would be using the same mutation where you would need to change the status of the active attribute to false and then make the API call and make the GraphQL call, and then you would be able to disable the custom fields. So now that you've got an overview on the different operations that are available, I would just like to highlight how you could add your custom fields to an entity. So while creating an entity with custom fields and you want to add custom fields to your entities, I would suggest that you include the option, which is the include equal to enhanced all custom fields in your REST API endpoint just to ensure that they are added to the entities. And also do not forget to include the custom field identifier in the API request body of the entities that you're creating. So those entities could be like either the invoice, customer, sales receipt, estimate, and so on. So also you would need, with the help of these custom fields, you would be able to track specific information, and you would also be able to generate detailed reports. So when you are actually specifying the custom field identifier in the request body of the entity, I would suggest that you set the definition ID, which is nothing but you would be mapping it to the legacy ID v2. The definition ID should be mapped to the legacy ID v2, and you would need to pass the value that your custom field to be, you want your custom field to be set with. So here is an example of an invoice. Here I'm creating an invoice with custom fields. So let me show you what I meant by mapping the legacy ID v2. So here we have the definition ID. Here I'm passing a value over here, ID. This ID is nothing but the legacy ID v2. And we have the string value. This is the value that I'm passing to this custom field. So when I create an invoice by using this API and I go check it on the UI, I would be able to see this value is being attached to this custom field. So let me take you to Postman and show you a quick demo on how to create a custom field and how to use it in your QBO entities. So this custom fields collection is available on our website, and you can fork this collection. So let me quickly show you the authorization. So these all would be imported when you fork the collection. I would suggest for the callback URL, ensure you are adding the same URL in your app settings as the redirect URL. And moving on to scopes, here I've provided the necessary scopes that are needed, which is nothing but com.intuit.quickbooks.accounting for accessing my accounting endpoints, and then the app foundations.custom field definitions to access the GraphQL endpoints for custom fields. And the client ID and the client secret would again be fetched from your developer portal for your production application. You would need to get the client ID and client secret and specify it here. So let me move on and let me try to get the access token. Now we'll be redirected to the company selection page where you could select the company that you want your custom fields to be added to. So once you get the access token, we can go, as you can see here, we have the three operations present over here, which is the query, which will allow you to read all the custom fields. And here we have the create, and to update a custom field, we have the mutation. So probably we would start with creating a custom field. So let me take you to this. So here you can see we're making a post call to the production GraphQL endpoint. And this is the mutation, which is App Foundation's create custom field definition for creating your custom fields. So here are the attributes that you would generally pass to create your custom field. So the label here indicates the name of your custom field. Active refers to the status, whether your custom field has to be active or inactive. The associations over here mean the associated entity, which is nothing but a transaction, a contact, or a vendor. And the sub-associations are the QuickBooks entities, which is nothing but either an invoice, sales receipt, or a customer based upon the associated entity that you've selected. And then you would need to specify the data type of the custom field that you're creating. If you would want it to be a dropdown, then you would provide the drop-down options as well. So here is a sample input that I'm passing. So let me just rename the label to and I have set the associated entity as transactions transaction. So my sub-association, under my sub-associations, my entity would be sale invoice. You could even use the other transaction types. And I've set it to true, and I've set the active attribute to true. You cannot create an inactive custom field, and the data type is string. So let me try creating this. When I click on send, there's a custom field that is created with the name custom fields color. Let us quickly go to the UI and check if it's been created. So here you can see my custom fields has been created, and I had associated it to transaction and type invoice. So you can see the mapping done over here on the UI as well. So once we create it, we could go to the read operation and read the custom fields that are present in our company. So this would be the query that we are using to read all the custom fields that are present. So this would help us fetch the ID, the legacy ID v2, the label, and all the associated entities, and all the attributes that are basically present for your custom fields. So let me quickly make this call. And here you would be able to see all the custom fields that are present in your company. So this was the latest one that I created. So let me copy this. So here we also have an example of the REST endpoint as to how to add your custom fields to your QuickBooks entities. So one of the example is adding your custom field to the invoices. So this is the invoice payload. So yeah, before that, I would like to highlight. So you would be making a post call to the invoice endpoint, and you would need to provide the base URL, which is quickbooks.api.intuit.com, pass your company ID, and the minor version would be 75. And do not forget to include this option, which is and include equal to enhanced all custom fields. And then we pass the request payload by passing the custom field object over here. And you would need to mention the definition ID and pass the value to the custom field. So here, in place of definition ID, you would need to give the legacy ID v2 of the custom field. So from the custom field that I previously created, the legacy ID v2 is this. Let me just copy that and add it over here. And let me just pass a value. So here you can see the custom field has been added to your invoice payload, and it is of type string, and this is the value. So let me also go to the UI and show you the invoice. So here you can see this is the custom field that I had passed for the invoice, and this is the value that I had sent. So yeah, let me hand it over to Alex for the rest of the presentation.
Yep, thanks, Ashika. Yeah, so just some general tips, just to reiterate, I kind of mentioned that already, but just to be aware that depending on the customer's plan, you might not be able to use certain parts, so or certain entities rather. So make sure to handle those cases gracefully, and use IDs as well as field names for reliability, and make sure to add enough error handling in the overall flow. And then the last slide is just some resources. If you can get to the next, yeah. So yeah, the Postman collection is quite useful. We have on our developer portal various things as well. So the GraphQL Explorer, the use cases, information on the scopes, and other things. So do check that out. And yeah, that's basically it. So happy to go on to questions now. I guess